Hey guys, welcome back to Art Direction and Design. In part one, I introduced myself and the team and spoke to you a little about design in the church. And in part two, alongside my colleagues, Chris and Belle, we walk you through art direction design and the overall process behind some of our campaigns. Before we get into that, our colleague of ours has prepared a little game called Guess the Campaign. And so we're going to test our knowledge on what we know of the past 10 years Hillsong campaigns.
Hillsong Conference
2012.
Probably. No, 20.
I'm going to go with 2013.
I'm going to say 2010.
2010.
This is where we started, guys.
Oh,
wow.
2009. Wow.
Next.
Okay. Vision?
Oh, Speak We're
Listen.
Listening.
Speak, we're listening.
Hillsong Conference 2014.
Oh, she might be
My
right.
child was born
2015,
like,
2014.
hours after this launched.
2015! I said 2015, 2014.
Speak We're Listening. Oh, because it launched in 2014.
Well,
Colour 2010.
no idea.
Yeah!
Wow.
Queen.
Congratulations. Easter?
2016.
Oh, I was going to say
16.
17. I'm wrong.
2016.
Yeah. That was yours.
Yeah. Oh, Renee.
Vision Sunday. Oh, it's on there. Vision.
Vision
20.
Sunday.
I'm going to go with 2013.
I'm going to say 2016 also.
Oh, 15. Oh, Belle, she's
Vision.
on fire. Oh, wow.
Hot August Nights, is it?
Yes.
Hot August Nights,
6 Hot Weekends.
6 Hot Weekends.
I'm going to say 2017. No, 2018.
I reckon earlier.
Oh, okay,
Remember all
2018.
these. Clearly, I need some.
Summer 2019.
Summer 2019. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, it's 2020.
2020.
Well, no,
no,
summer
it's-
starts in
Yes,
2019.
it launches in 19. It goes into 20.
Yeah. Vision?
No, breathe
No,
again.
half of the house. 20.
Oh,
20.
It is half of the house, you're
2021.
right. Half of the house. That was a map of the world.
Yoo-hoo!
Yeah, very good. Closer
Oh,
conference?
closer. Hillsong
Hillsong
Conference.
Conference.
What year was that?
18.
18.
I'm going to say 2016.
Nah, I think it's 18. It's 17.
2017. Split the difference, mate.
Colour 2015.
15?
I'm going to say 18.
Oh,
No,
17. Oh, she was right. I got that one wrong.
but you would have done it in 2019. I mean,
That's it.
2017. Yeah.
There we have it, guys. That's testing a little bit of our knowledge on our previous campaigns over the last few years. So I've got Belle and Chris with me. Now, they're both very different designers and have unique styles and processes. And I wanted to talk to you both about how you sink your teeth into a campaign. Like, where do you start? Chris?
I think for me, it's about looking at the end goal of what we want to achieve and really getting a vision. Maybe it's a God drop moment where you kind of go, that's what I see, whether it's getting people in the building, making people feel welcome and at home. And so starting there and kind of working backwards, which then usually flows into finding the right scriptures, finding the right words that really inspire the creative visuals of the campaign. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we work similarly but different
Yeah.
in that, like, we both we're searching for the big idea.
Yeah.
And I feel like, yeah, sometimes I'll go to scripture or I'll work with words and language and all that kind of thing. But I think ultimately we kind of start with that, like, we've got to have that big idea that launches into the art. Yeah. Neither of us start with pictures or like playing with artwork or visual. We both start with concept.
Yeah.
And then it launches into a campaign, because I feel like the campaigns that I've worked on where I've started with a look before I've had the idea, they haven't had the same kind of guts.
Yeah, and I mentioned previously in part one about how we submit each of our campaigns and everything to God. And I know that both of you, at the beginning of each of your projects, are really big on that. Like, you pray about it and you go through your scriptures and you read the language, and that seems to be a really important part of how you sink your teeth into a campaign at the beginning.
Yeah.
So there's definitely similarities there between the two of you and a couple of differences as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's where the big ideas come from.
Yeah.
You know? Like, if it doesn't come from that, like, moments of revelation, then they fall flat.
Yeah, and there's so much inspiration just in the Bible, like creative inspiration there. to work with. And so, yeah, I feel like it creates your canvas for you, really.
Okay, once you've started campaign and you've gone through it, I just wanted to, I guess, get you to share a little bit about one of your favourite campaigns and talk us through from beginning to end, or give us a little sneak peek about what you're working on now.
Yeah, so I would always say that my favourite campaign is the campaign that I'm working on next. But one of my favourites is Christmas 2019, which actually started from a conversation that Belle and I had with a few other members of our team. We were really trying to find the words of what it was going to be called, and I need that to start. And so Belle made a mention of a lyric from O Holy Night, which was, "A thrill of hope, a weary world rejoices." And I remember just hearing that and being super inspired. I thought, wow, a thrill of hope. That sounds amazing, and automatically started thinking of all these visuals. And I remember, I'll just bring them up. I remember started thinking about romance, the thrill and romance around being hopeful, and Jesus, like this majesty, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just felt beautiful. And so I started looking at animation and motion and like the thought of dancing and this thrilling moment. And it just didn't really hit the spot, but I did love the look, especially looking at it now. I remember thinking, wow, that is cool.
It's beautiful.
But it didn't have the feeling that I wanted to evoke. And so then I started looking at scripture and thinking, okay, what does God talk about hope in a weary world? And so I remember bringing up Matthew 12:20, and it says, "His justice will triumph. The mere sound of his name will signal hope among far-off unbelievers."
Oh, I love that.
And I remember thinking, signal of hope. And that just started this whole train of thought around Jesus coming and the three wise men going to find Jesus. He was the hope of the world. He is the hope of the world, I should say. And going in on this search and journey. And then I started putting creative together around everyday life. What happens if all of a sudden Jesus was coming right now? What would that look like? Some people are down and out. Some people are going about their everyday business, catching the train, or maybe you're homeless and in an alley. And what does Jesus look like in that scenario? And so I started putting this star of hope in these different circumstances. These are all just concepts, the original concepts. And then the artwork finally turned into what was this, which is Sunny, Belle's daughter, but a whole bunch of images of this star and Jesus coming. And I just thought it was this beautiful campaign. I've actually got the original printed seat drop here, which just had like this beautiful gold foil, which I love, which everyone knows. I love putting foil on campaigns, but it just had this star and this hope of Jesus in everyday circumstance. And I remember looking at, like, we had all these different pictures, like family. We went and did a shoot. Belle took these beautiful photos. And then that sort of turned into more romance and stuff. That's how I sort of brought the romance and magic of Christmas into the different photography. I've got the promo to show you. I can show you a little snippet of that. I don't know if we want to go through the whole thing, but...
Maybe just a snippet.
Yeah.
Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night.
Did you work on this ad yourself? I can't remember, or did we use an animator?
No, I animated this, and I want to talk about the animation in the next part, but it was all frame by frame. And what I did is I used a lot of rotoscoping, so you'll see in a second when it all comes alive what it looks like.
It's interesting because with campaigns, you have to think about all the different mediums. So you start somewhere and then you've got to remember that you're not just making a poster or a print device, but it's got to end up being a promo ad or a billboard or a toilet door sign or a sticker or a seat drop. So
yeah,
I love the way you guys work through and create these campaigns. And
yeah.
Would you still do handwriting if you had your time over after all those hours?
There was a lot of handwriting. I remember I had a iPad and using Procreate with the pencil, just going for it. But I loved it. It was one of my favorite. It is one of my favorite campaigns. Just it felt magical. It felt special. This is some of the print work that we did and different foyer signage and stuff. So I really loved it.
And I know you're working on Christmas this year, Chris. Do you have a second to show us a little sneak peek of Christmas 2021?
I do. Christmas 2021. I really wanted to give people hope. You know, current circumstances not great with COVID, but I want to show that there's a hope in this world, and his name is Jesus. Like, again, started with a conversation with Belle and Joseph and found this beautiful scripture. But the angel reassured them, saying, "Don't be afraid, for I have come to bring you good news, the most joyous news the world has ever heard, and it is for everyone, everywhere." And I really love the line, "for everyone, everywhere." I just thought, wow, that's amazing. Like, I'm included, no matter where I am or who I am loved. Jesus is for me, and this is for me. And so I started playing around with different words around for everyone, everywhere, like hope for everyone, everywhere, peace for everyone, everywhere, love, grace, joy, Jesus for everyone, everywhere. And so this is the campaign art. It's very bright, very different. I wanted to steer away from, your typical red, green, gold kind of Christmas, but bring in the patterns and the beauty and just this lovely colours and bright colours.
I haven't even seen this.
No, this is yet to be released, guys.
Yeah,
a
it
sneak
looks
peek.
like gift wrap.
Yeah, that was the idea.
Like,
so it's fun and joyous. And so even like Jesus for everyone, everywhere, peace for everyone, everywhere. And yeah.
I really love this, Chris. It's going to be great, and it's going to be a blessing to a lot of people.
Yeah, thank you.
How about you, Belle? Have you got a campaign that you would like to walk us through?
I'm going to be walking you through WCC. Well, it launched in 2019. It was our campaign for what was meant to be our conference in 2020, but COVID, as with many things in this world, we've had to postpone it, and now, it became WCC 2021. So I'll walk you through the journey. Basically, what happened is we set up a meeting with Cass back in 2019, and she came to us with a very clear idea about what she wanted the conference to be called and what the key scripture was. And so, there's pros and cons to that when you're working with somebody who has a very clear idea. I mean, in some ways, the pressure is off you because they've already heard the word, and so it's just up to you to outwork it. And so that's where we found ourselves. We had to try and come up with the most interesting, exciting, inspiring visual translation of this scripture. So she wanted that conference to be called Arrows, and the scripture was this one in Psalms. It's in the Message translation. It says, "My question, what are God worshippers like? Your answer, arrows aimed at God's bullseye." And so we sat there scratching our heads for a while, like, how can we make this feel like a creative interpretation of this and not just something that's quite obvious? So this is where we started. We started thinking about this kind of Renaissance kind of art placed in more modern environments, and different collages and bright colours on like old world sculptures, and so like this is where we started. Where we were looking at like these kind of typefaces, like there was kind of this old meets new kind of aesthetic that we were kind of starting to play with. And then we did like pretty much a 180 on that whole direction, and we were like, no, it just doesn't feel quite right. After doing a few WCC campaigns that felt a little bit more, somber in tone and a little bit more reflective, we wanted to do something that was really fun. So we came up with a second concept, and that was, called Arrows. And so basically the idea of the concept was that we were still trying to come to terms with this scripture. Like, what does this mean? What does this mean? And so basically the trailer is a conversation between two people trying to understand what this concept is, and trying to make sense of like, what is it for us as creatives to be arrows in whatever setting that you're called to creatively. And so we created a trailer that I would say the most definitive thing about this campaign is the tone of voice.
Yeah,
So the
I agree.
copywriting was extremely important.
Yeah.
It's very tongue-in-cheek, it's very cheeky and fun, and it's been a 2-year campaign unintentionally, but I feel like because it's been so much fun to work with it, it's kind of kept it fresh for everyone that's kind of touched it.
Yeah.
So these were a couple of the toilet door signs. For this one, for example, it takes 3 minutes, 35 seconds for Taya to get to that high note in Oceans, but less than 2 minutes to register for 2020 on the app. And then in brackets, we timed it. So lots of kind of stuff like that kind of just give people a little smirk, give people a little giggle, and just keep it fresh and fun.
Yeah, it's interesting because with graphic design and stuff, people just automatically assume that what you're looking at is the most important thing, and it's all about the picture or the font. But for this campaign specifically, it was like you said, the tone of voice, the language, the script.
Yeah.
It was super important. And I love that you guys turned it into a question-answer campaign when what you were presented with originally from Cass was a question-answer verse.
Yes.
Which you don't often see.
Yes.
So it was quite unique, and you guys killed it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it really was all there in the scripture, it always comes back to that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then, so our social campaign, this campaign is purely digital. I think that those little posters we saw before are literally the only printed thing that we made for this entire 2-year campaign. Everything's been digital. Lots of kind of meme style social media content. Our colour palette is just really bright, happy, clean type. Yeah, visually just nothing complicated about it. And then, some plasma signage.
It was received really well too.
Yeah.
I remember being in the auditorium the first time the trailer showed and the crowd erupted.
Yeah. I think because it was quite unexpected at that point, because I think up until then we hadn't really done many campaigns that kind of, I feel like we've done general church campaigns like Father's Day and things like that where we're kind of a bit cheeky and playful, but I think up until then we hadn't really done a conference campaign that was just
I remember
fun.
We all waited, because usually we wait to see the trailer when everyone sees it in the room.
Yeah.
If you're not working on the project, you kind of don't want to see it until you're there.
Yeah.
And I remember watching it in the room and everyone was laughing and I thought, this is amazing. It was so well received.
Yeah, Jamin Tasker was the filmmaker on that one. Him and Nath Kiadi, they did an amazing job. I think I was actually quite nervous in the room because I was kind of are people going to laugh? Is this actually funny? I don't know. I'm not a comedian, but hopefully. Anyway, this little trio of social media posts is what we posted when the conference ended up getting postponed. And so we're well, at least we've got a fun campaign to riff off here. And so, we kind of created some fun, quirky little posts here that hopefully in the midst of a very dark time in the world, hopefully gave people a little laugh.
Yeah, you really had to put a halt on things, didn't you, for a while and mix up the campaign a little bit.
Yeah. And then curveball number 3 was, we're not in the room, we're online. So, which is totally fine. Here we are enjoying being online. Yeah, these are the some of the posts that we used to communicate that we were online, and lots of fun.
And as Chris gave us a little sneak peek into Christmas, you are currently working on WCC 2022.
Yes.
How's that going? Is there anything you want to let us in on with this campaign?
To be honest, I wish I had more to show you. I'm very much in the throes of trying to land this one. I'm definitely not as far in as Chris is on Christmas. I wish I was. And it's funny because Christmas is further away. But anyway, we're getting there. The title of next year's conference is Evergreen. And that concept kind of came about as we met with Cass, and in the flurry of all the things that she's overseeing for this year's conference, she kind of came with a list of different ideas and revelations and what about this or this? It's almost like she just did a mind dump of everything that God's been speaking to her in the last couple months.
Yeah.
It was funny because just before that meeting, I was reminded of a moment in the very first WCC conference where God spoke to me about being an evergreen, and that God would make me be the kind of person that would continue to flourish no matter the season, no matter the hardships and challenges that I would face, that I would continue to stay green. And for whatever reason, minutes before that meeting started, he reminded me of that revelation.
Wow.
And then, yeah, we come into this meeting and she starts talking about, what about a greener God? And like, she's not saying evergreen, but she's saying all of the things around it. And I'm like, but Cass, evergreen? And she's like, yes. Anyway, so from that time, we've been working on this concept. And I guess the real heart behind it is exactly what that first revelation is for me, that as creative people, that we would be able to stay fresh while the world is groaning and there's a lot of turmoil around us, but that we would be able to withstand the storms and, stay green. And this is some of the art. Again, it's very draft.
Preliminary.
Very preliminary. Like the typeface might change. These images will definitely change. But I guess this is just a little sneak peek into the first step of me just drafting up some art. And so stay tuned.
Beautiful.
In fact, by the time you watch this, we'll have a campaign. So.
Thanks, Belle and Chris. And thanks, guys, for joining us for part 2 of Art Direction and Design. And we hope you found this helpful. Stay with us for the next session where Chris and I will be joined by our colleague and friend, Yosef, and we'll be talking to you about graphic and motion design.